Good morning, everybody, and welcome. My name is Steve Bates. I'm the Chief Executive of the BIA, and welcome to this webinar on getting the most from the JP Morgan Week 2016. We're going to move to the first slide. So I hope what we can offer you from this webinar is give you an outline of what's happening at the 2016 event, with a focus for UK travellers and what they need to know. And hopefully this will get you ahead a little bit next week. And of course, as you've joined this webinar, you are invited to our networking event in San Francisco on the Wednesday evening, and we will make sure that an invite is got to you, and we have the link for that. So that's the objective for today. On the webinar today, who will be talking is myself, Chris Mayer, who has made it back from South America, who works in the London Stock Exchange UK markets, who's been the leading force behind one of the events of Biotech Showcase, and he'll talk briefly on that. And Harriet Fear, who is the CEO of One Nucleus, a United Life Science partner, and also a UK business ambassador, so not going to JP Morgan in that capacity, but is able to give us an overview of the core story that we make about UK bioscience. So hopefully we'll be able to do that. If you have any questions, do please put them on chat, as we have lots of people on the webinar today, and I will endeavour to point them in the right direction or answer them. So type it into the chat box on your webinar, and we will field them in the right way possible. And I'll try and move through this in about no more than half an hour, and then enable some time for questions. So, for those of you who've never been, and apologies for those of you who have, the JP Morgan Week in San Francisco isn't just the JP Morgan conference itself, but it's several conferences in the city at the same time. Many of you will be registered for Biotech Showcase. Some of you will be going to JP Morgan, and there are, of course, the East-West CEO conference, which sort of happens the weekend before. And some of you may be aware of the Redefining Early Stage Investments event, which is an early stage conference on the San Francisco circuit. So quite a lot going on. As you know, not all of the action is in the formal conferences, but many is corporates or venture capitalists looking to make one-to-one partnering meetings, are often in hotel suites around the place, which they will have pre-arranged before Christmas with various companies that they are interested in investing in. And unfortunately, as with most interesting things, much of that is not on public view, and I don't think that we have a strong understanding of exactly who's meeting what, where, who, where, or when. But perhaps you'll all have your own lists, and I'm sure many of you will have some fantastic meetings set up in advance. The thing that always happens is that you always bump into people around Union Square, and there'll be lots of Brits and others from our sector around. If you have any free time, if you just go and stand in Union Square, I'm sure you will see people who you know there over the week. And the networking and reception scene is vibrant and fairly open access. And I'm sure if you ask around, you'll find your way to many of the do's that many of the people are doing. Because of this, getting a ticket to JP Morgan isn't a prerequisite for success. If you don't know who you're going to meet in advance, probably it's going to be a less successful week, although I know some of the partnering at Biotech Showcase is still open, but many of this will be organised in advance. The social events, I think, are of value, and members tell me that people find them great for making new networks and new contacts. I find that some BIA members have told me that consultants who are based in the States have been helpful with helping them get meetings. Probably too late at this stage, but organisations like Trout know how to work this sector and this conference scene very well. So if you're thinking about it for next year, it might be worth considering engaging with one of those. Most people, I think, are going to Biotech Showcase, and I think that's a great platform, very similar to the things that we've got in Europe in terms of Bio Europe, but based in San Francisco, and business cards and a charge are very important. So this little map shows you the Biotech Showcase and the relation of it to the main hotel, which is next to the bit that says Macy's here, the top right hand corner. So it's in the Park 55 San Francisco Hilton. Over 2,000 people, and the partnering system is the same as Bio Europe, which many of you will be familiar for. So that's where many people will be. Of course, if you're looking to know what's on, who's going, and who's presenting, these are the links. And I don't know if Lynn from Biopartner is with us. I hope she is, because she's done a fantastic job of organising this for the UK scene. Yes, I see, Lynn, that you are on. Through our partner at BioPartner, our ULS partner at BioPartner. It says here, Lynn, last chance to claim the $300 discounts, which all UK delegates are eligible. What do people need to do for that, Lynn?
Just go to our website and fill in the short form and we'll get them registered.
Wonderful. And Lynn, just a quick plug for Lynn. Lynn not only helps work with the UK sector for this one, but is also working on Europe BioSpring, Bio this summer, Life Science Baltics, Bio Spain, and Bio Europe in November. So don't go home. There are discounts available, and Lynn is available. A couple of thoughts on JP Morgan week day by day. On Sunday, Harriet and I will be in the Cliff Hotel at the Redwood Room, as we have been in previous years. If you are getting over your jet lag, do please feel free to come and join some Brits for a drink there. It's just behind the Western St Francis Hotel on Union Square, 1 block away, very close to Park 55. Do come and see us if you want to meet up with friends and colleagues, and we'd love to see you there. On the Monday morning, I always think this is a fun one, that the McDougall organisation will organise a fun run at 6 in the morning. You have to, if you're not a masochist, I don't expect to see you there, but some people do that. And then, of course, first thing in the morning at 8 o'clock over at Park 55, there is a panel which has got significant UK engagement on the age of virtual pharma, if you're up bright and breezy first thing Monday morning for breakfast. On Tuesday, and I would encourage you to consider joining us for this, and a bit of a departure from previous years, there is a session trying to promote the role of London and the UK as a global hub for life sciences and investment at Biotech Showcase, which I'll be at. Elliot Forster from Munich Oral Med City will also be on, along with a couple of others. And Chris Mayo has been the leading force in getting this together. So, Chris, I know you're on. Perhaps you'd like to tell people a little bit about what this is.
Yeah, no problem, Steve. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. Yeah, we just wanted to highlight the recent kind of resurgence that we've seen in the London market with regards to life sciences, both from a public and a private side. Obviously, you've got Elliot there on the panel, and Immunocore raised over $300 million from the private side. I think something that's not mentioned there on your slide, which is on the website, is the fact that we've also got Saku Sahar, who is a senior fund manager from Woodford Investment Management, joining us for the panel as well. Obviously, Woodford are one of the key investors in that Immunocore round. And I think it would be very interesting to discuss with Saku how Woodford see the life science sector and what their potential outlook is for the investments they've made. In addition, we've got Daphne Zohar from PureTech Health. We want to talk to her about why she chose to list a Boston headquartered company in London, and again that really goes to the whole IP commercialization and tech transfer trends that we're seeing in the UK, where we do have a vibrant listed sector, and that's really something they don't have in the US. And also we're going to have Paul Tomasik, who's from RBC Capital Markets, and RBC are a strong force in healthcare, both in Europe and in the US. So we want to hear from Paul in terms of to help him contrast the activity in the US with that in the UK and discuss its different nature. And of course, there's you, Steve. We shouldn't forget you. I'm going to want to ask you about how you think the UK will differ from the US in terms of areas, specific areas that may develop more quickly in the UK relatively to the US. And as Steve said, it's well, as you can see, slide, it's 8 AM on Tuesday at the Park 55. I think I'm actually going to look for the actual, put it here somewhere. It is in level 4, mission 2, to be exact. I assume that is the meeting room. So happy to ask and to answer any questions you may have at the end of the webinar.
Thanks, Chris. And I think if I can just encourage people, we are trying to make sure that there is a strong show for Brit companies. If you do feel you're able to come along, we'd appreciate your support at this event. So that's the UK event on Tuesday. We'll now move forward. the other event that I imagine, I hope that I'll see many of you at is event networking reception on Wednesday evening between 7 and 9:30. We're lucky to be partnered with MedImmune and AstraZeneca at the Exploratorium Museum, which is Pier 15, a little bit away from Union Square, a short journey away, which will bring the JP Morgan week to a close. Look forward to seeing you there. We'll make sure that these slides go out to you at the end of this webinar. We are close on having 500 acceptances for this, so I do please ask you to respond today on this using the link that will come out with this invite. So it looks like it's going to be a packed event, and look forward to you joining us there. If you are around on the Wednesday evening, a good chance to meet investors, senior people from MedImmune and AstraZeneca, and also, again, the strength of the UK community. So I hope you can see that we've got a few things which will provide a UK backdrop to what will be a busy and individually focused week that you can put into your diaries. But perhaps I can now hand over to Harriet. So perhaps if you're in the elevators or bumping into people, some of the things that might be useful to think about in terms of the strength of the community from which we come, that are used in terms of by partners as we talk about the UK as a great place to be from, that may chime with some of the things your individual businesses do. So Harriet, over to you.
Lovely. Thank you, Steve. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Excellent. So, yeah, as Steve said, Steve and I talked about a very short 4 or 5 slides just about the pitch, really, for what the UK is all about. So I've no interest in insulting anyone's intelligence, but I thought it would be really useful just to put down a few of the very headline statistics that there are. And in my business ambassador role for Number 10, it's very much about promoting the UK as an excellent location for quality foreign direct investment, but also, obviously, a very vibrant and rich ecosystem for R&D and for all sorts of academic liaisons and other things. So these slides really are just a very short snapshot. If anybody would like more slides or more information, I can tell you I have rafts of the stuff back here at One Nucleus. So if you have a specific question which you think would help with your pitch, as Steve mentioned, just let me know. I've got slide decks about the UK which are current, going into their hundreds, but these are just 4 or 5 relatively pithy high-level sets of statistics, and really importantly, they're not what I've been told to say. They're not government propaganda. These are stats that are based on lots of fact and lots of peer review. So I'll just spin through them very quickly. We obviously all know that the UK is one of the strongest and most productive life science and healthcare sectors in the world. At the moment, generating turnover of over 50 billion, 176,000 employees at least, and obviously growing. In terms of the key facts, one of the things I talk about quite a lot, not just because they're a One Nucleus partner, is the decision by AstraZeneca to move their global headquarters to Cambridge, but more importantly than the Cambridge message, actually to choose to locate it within the UK, when they obviously, Pascal and his team would have had anywhere in the world to choose from. They could easily have gone elsewhere. They chose to keep it in the UK, which is fantastic for the UK, not just for Cambridge. And the implications and the repercussions of that, the positive ones, are obviously already being felt. So just to highlight that on the UK Life Science Key Facts page, and I know AstraZeneca will obviously be out in force at the JP Morgan conference. Moving on to the next slide, one of the things I talk about quite a lot, and what a lot of foreign investors seem to be interested in, is how each part of the ecosystem is incredibly vibrant and how it all matches and knits in together. So here, this is really just a snapshot of, actually, it's not just about world-leading science. It's about a National Health Service which has access to unrivaled data. Now, I know all of us will have our own issues about the NHS and the uptake of innovation, but actually it's seen as a model example by many around the world. So if we can put our own personal preferences to one side, if we think it's important that the NHS is championed in your pitch, then there's a little bit of information in there about that. But also the importance of early stage translational research, a great place to undertake high quality, efficient R&D, and obviously the validation of new products, the importance of charities, and so on. So that's just a snapshot guide really to many of the different players that help to make it the sector that it is in the UK. And then following on from that, as a business ambassador, I can't be geographically, regionally biased. So I talk about the strengths in each of the 4 countries or areas that make up the UK. So there's some little snapshots there about particular parts of the UK and the makeup of them, and how that really builds a collaborative research ecosystem. So how we actively encourage research partnerships between academia, industry and the NHS across the UK. And then I think this is my final slide. Steve, you're probably moving them on for me, and thanks for that. This is a bit of a government pitch, I guess. This is about what the UK government has done and is doing to support the sector. Now, I know everybody will be very conscious that there was obviously the comprehensive spending review towards the end of last year. I think in my conversations with Steve and with others, the general feeling is that actually protection of certain budget was more than some of us were expecting. I don't make political and lobbying comments, so I'm not about to now. I leave that to Steve as the voice of UK biotech. But I think generally, talking to our members here at One Nucleus, there is a feeling that it could have been a lot worse. But these are some of the highlights of things that have happened in recent years. The R&D tax credits, we all know how strong they are, the patent box and the Biomedical Catalyst Fund. And whilst there isn't clarity yet about whether the Biomedical Catalyst Fund will continue or not, I think I'm right in saying, Steve, that we certainly haven't had anything to suggest that it or something in its place will not continue. Now, there's no guarantee it will, but we haven't, I don't think at the moment we've had anything to say that that is at risk, but I'll leave Steve to comment on that in a second. So that's a very quick summary. As I say, I've got lots of other information if people need it. One of the other things that is of quite a lot of interest when I'm talking to visiting missions that come to see us here at One Nucleus is that there's quite a lot of interest in the importance that the UK government attaches to life sciences, and specifically the fact that we have a life sciences minister. And I know George Freeman is always very proud of saying he's the world's only life sciences minister, and I believe that's true. So I know that he's very keen to get feedback on the JP Morgan conference. He was there last year. He isn't able to make it this year. But if anybody has any specific points or questions for George, I know that Steve's in very close touch with him, and I too would be happy to feed in messages to him. So I think that's it from me. I say more information available if you need it.
Thank you, Harriet. And I know, I mean, I think the key thing that you've done here is reduce the 100 million slides into 3 or 4 that are hopefully of use. And I would reinforce that. I know we are all used to understanding the importance of R&D tax credits, but I'm never surprised at the ignorance of people who are primarily US focused on some of the positive environments that we have in the UK, not simply around the science and the NHS and the university partnerships and some of the great big companies, but I think particularly on this fiscal environment, which is actually globally very competitive. No withholding tax, the ability to ease of doing business, and some particular incentives for our community does go down well with it, with these with that community, and they don't know about it. So don't be afraid to mention these things, because they do make it an attractive business proposition or an attractive environment into which obviously you've got your fantastic businesses. And thank you, Harriet, in particular, for making the time to condense it, which is really the important thing for people, because if we can have a short summary, which we all agree on, then it makes it far better. So thank you for that. And on Biomedical Catalyst, we continue to campaign for it. I think you're seeing the benefits in terms of companies who have benefited from it, and there are a number of people who have had things that have moved forward. Obviously, Innovate UK are committed to supporting the sector. There's an ongoing discussion as to how that will be focused going forward, but certainly patent box and R&D tax credits are likely to continue, and some form of support for the sector, I think, is likely. In what format exactly it fits, we don't yet know. If I can, I'm just going to, last few slides, we're going to talk about, obviously, if you want to know who's at the Biotech Showcase and when they're on, these are the links, and these are some of the people that we're aware already have got some stuff going on. Keep going. Lots of the key companies from the bigger companies, you know, you have to have a significant market cap to get at JP Morgan, so a significant number of players up this year at JP Morgan as well. I always find social media is a good way of following what's going on at JP Morgan. The hashtag is #JPM16, Biotech Showcase, #BTS16 has been very useful and maybe a good way as you're sort of walking around to make sure that you're following what's going on and don't miss a thing. So we'll make sure that we keep posting and reposting things that are of value there, so that's a good place to be. If you've not been to San Francisco before, the BART train from the airport is very good and straightforward, takes you straight in and downtown. We put some links in here, and as you get the presentation, some good useful ones for how you might get around if you're interested in route planning and all the rest of it in the Bay Area, so that's that one. And I think other than questions about will we be doing, I will now go to answer the questions that I am aware of. So first off, you will get a copy of this presentation. Hannah will send it to you as soon as we've finished, so don't worry about that. Is there a list of receptions that are held in San Francisco over the period? I have occasionally, the answer is I don't have one. McDougall Communications are a good organisations, and I have seen one from them in the past for previous years. I have not seen the one for 2016, and that is the best one I have seen for a period. And they have on their list a list of ones you can just turn up to and ones that are tougher to get into. So perhaps a point where they will be at their fun run. They also tend to have a space in the Park 55 hotel, and if you ask around and ask for McDougall Communications, if I get hold of it, I will tweet it if I can. I haven't seen it yet and I haven't got it yet, so that's how I would get hold of receptions. And I'm glad to see that Riptide Pharma are presenting at Biotech Showcase on additionally on Wednesday at 2 o'clock. And somebody has got the 16 one from McDougall, which we'll get, and we'll make sure that we'll put it out with the communication. So thank you very much for that. We'll make sure that we get that list out to people. Do we have any other questions on the chat or anything else? We'll unmute everybody and see where we're going. So if anybody's got anything to add on the phone, you're all unmuted. The floor is yours. If not, I would just like to thank Chris for joining us straight off the plane from South America, Harriet for her fantastic contribution. I will leave it to Hannah for her fantastic running of this technical challenge with so many of you on. I look forward to seeing many of you on Sunday, Tuesday and Wednesday next week. And you're having a fantastic time at JP Morgan. Good luck and see you there.